Hello. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. My name is Rafa Gottlof, and you're watching My School of Life. It's a program where I sit down and I teach you life lessons in a way that is easy to understand. The intention is for me to help you to become a better person. Okay? And on today's edition, I'll be telling you about temptation. Temptation. That's what we're talking about. So it's easy for you to hear people say, I was tempted, and I was tempted, and I was tempted. What does it mean to be tempted? And listen, I'm not trying to teach you a Bible class. I'm just going to talk about temptation in a different way. Okay? This is not a Bible class. This is not a born again prayer meeting. I'm just telling you about temptation. Where people say, I was tempted. To tempt means to entice somebody and to lure them or to mislead them out of their better judgment. And so just by the definition of temptation, you already see that deception is already involved, because you now mislead them and you lure them into something that is out of their better judgment. Now, let me break down how temptation happens. The first thing you need to know about temptation is that we get tempted by things that we feel can relieve us from some pain or give us some form of satisfaction. And so you don't really get tempted to do something like putting your hand over burning candle, or you just seeing water boiling in a pot and you're like, I just feel tempted to just put my hand in this boiling pot of water. That doesn't tempt you. Okay, you get tempted by things that you feel that are going to relieve you of pain or give you some form of satisfaction and things like that. But it's a very tricky situation, because sometimes the things that we feel are going to relieve us of pain or give us something ends up not necessarily being that. It's like they say, don't read a book from its cover, and that all that glitters don't necessarily mean that it's gold. Okay, so sometimes let me give you concrete examples. You might see a lady and you're like, oh, she's nice, and I really want to get to know her and date her and things like that, and she has a nasty attitude. You might see a guy and say, he's rich, but he's a son of a rich guy. He's not necessarily rich. You come close to him, you discover he's as lazy as a lazy bone, and that he cannot stand on his own 2 feet, and his father's money is not necessarily his money, and that his father might be intelligent and rich, but he's like just a dumb head. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So sometimes all that glitters is not gold, and sometimes you might get into a relationship and like you want something, and at the end of the day it doesn't end up being what you thought that it was going to be, and then you feel bad because you played yourself for a fool now, because you went in for something and you got something else in return. So things that tempt us don't necessarily mean that they're going to give us what they promise. Okay, so that's the first level of temptation, where you're drawn by your own desire. It's your desire that drew you to it, because you felt that you were going to gain something, and most of the times you end up not gaining what you thought that you were going to gain. That's the first level of temptation. It's when you're drawn by your own desire, not somebody that drew you. It's your own desire. The second level of temptation, and this is a deeper, very deeper level of temptation, is a temptation where you were not drawn to something because you felt that it was going to give you peace of mind, or it was going to give you some form of satisfaction. You were tempted now because your life was depending on that situation. You were pushed to the wall to the extent where you had no choice. Rafa, explain in plain English. I'm going to do that. That's why I'm here. Let me give you a concrete example. Think about a prostitute. You struggle to get a job. You don't get a job, or you don't have the qualifications to get a job. You don't really know what you can do with your life, or you're in a tight situation, or you don't have accommodation and things like that. Now you're forced to sell your body. Okay? And it's a shameful thing, and you don't really want to talk about all of these things, but you're forced to do things that you didn't really want to do. How do you now start telling a prostitute that leave the job that you do, that feeds you and that cares for you? Okay, it becomes very problematic. They're not in it because they like to be in it, but the temptation is a different level of temptation now, because listen, my life depends on this. Somebody once told me, and I'm just remembering this now, somebody once told me that you don't tell somebody that, oh Rafa, your shirt is torn, Your shirt is torn, you better change that shirt and all of that. He said, no. He says you buy them a new shirt. You buy them a new shirt and you help them. At this level of temptation, this second level of temptation where your life basically depends on it, it becomes problematic now because you have to work on your own life. You have to work on the things that you can do to become financially independent. The work is not just on the come out of the temptation situation. You cannot just tell somebody to come out of the situation. Okay, the temptation is bigger now because they're being lured by things that can really be life-changing. Okay, you need to help them find their stability. You need to help them find their self-esteem. Because some people get into things because of lack of self-esteem. They feel that nobody loves them and nobody cares for them. Especially if they grew up in an environment where their own family members and even friends and close loved ones didn't really love them. It becomes an issue for you to be able to convince that kind of a person that they can possibly be loved. Because they're used to not being loved. And so anytime you try to show them love or you try to tell them that there's a better way, they become suspicious of you, that you must probably want something from them. So it becomes an issue. You need to work on their self-esteem. You need to help them become financially stable. Because I promise you, if you look at prostitutes, some of them are very educated. If you try to talk with prostitutes and you really just try to find these people, whether you're looking for them online, and just because most of them will just hide their identity and things like that, but if you just try to make conversation, you discover that these people speak proper English and they write proper French and things like that. They understand, proper ethics in society, and they're not people like scum like people think they are. Some of them are very educated. Okay, so it becomes your place now to help them find their stability and to look at their gifts and talents and what they can do as a business and other things like that. There's a lot of work that is involved. If you're somebody and you're in a situation where you're in a tight corner and you feel like there's no hope, where do I go from here? Everybody's telling me that I need to come out from this, but I don't know how to do it. You need to find your own inner strength. You need to find that inner strength. You need to find that confidence. You need to find that gift and talent that you can use and sell to people for them to give you money legitimately. It becomes your job to do, and it's a work that nobody can do for you. Nobody can help you find your confidence. Nobody can help you find your self-esteem. Because most of, I'm using the case of prostitutes because it's easy to use, right? I don't want to offend nobody. Most people that are into prostitution, if you tell these girls or these boys, and I'm telling you some boys are prostitutes too, I'm talking and I'm not recording in terms of the African society. I'm recording in terms of global. Okay, because somebody might be watching this video from online, that male prostitutes, right? So if you ask them the different people that they share their body with for money, if they had that money on their own, they would not want to share their body with any Jack and Jill. So it's just a tight situation where they find themselves in. It's a very tight situation and it's a complicated situation. You need to work on other things, not just telling them to come out. You need to help them find their self-esteem. And I think that governments and societies and communities need to do this work. Even churches need to create programs where you visit even people in prisons and you encourage them and tell them how to build their own personal skills and things like that. It's needed in society. That's the reason why society is just degenerating, because nobody's encouraging nobody. Everybody, like, she's a prostitute because she likes prostitution. She puts up a front and she smiles at your face so that you don't know that she's hurting inside. Most of these people have all kinds of physical abuse and sexual abuse and emotional abuse. They don't know the way out. They need somebody to love them. They need somebody to encourage them. So, Rafa, what is the way out? The way out is to understand that everybody has failures, and that every failure that you go through, every hard time, every difficulty, it's not necessarily a failure. It's just an opportunity for you to learn a new lesson. And that you cannot really find your inner strength if life does not push you to extremes. You cannot know what you're made of. You cannot know how strong you are emotionally. You cannot know how strong you are, in your mind to make tough decisions and things like that, to fight. You cannot build that fighting spirit if life doesn't torment you. So generally, everybody that's ever succeeded under uncomfortable situations, and you're not going to be an exception. Okay, you're not going to be an exception. Life is like that. Life is unfair to all of us. All of us have high times and low times, so we all go through the rain and the storm. You have to understand and stop blaming society and blaming people. Take responsibility for yourself and your actions, and determine in your heart that I have to move forward. I can't keep living in this low, dark place that I live. I need to make better out of my life. It's your responsibility. It's your job to do. Encourage yourself. Fight for your life. It's your life. It's not mine. It's your life. You need to fight. You need to fight. And someday you'll be grateful that you fought, because you discover that it was not as difficult as you thought. It's just the beginning stages that is always like difficult, like how do I get out and how do I start and how do I, but all things are possible. Everything is possible. If you determine in your mind that you're going to make it, you're definitely going to make it. Okay? My story might not be the same story as yours, but in life, we all have fighting to do, and nobody's going to do it for you. You're the person that's going to do it for yourself. So, all of that said, my name is Rafa across all social media handles. I'm called Rafa_237 on YouTube. You can watch more videos of mine on YouTube. And if you want to be my friend, you can reach out on me. You can reach out to me, beg your pardon, on social media and just get to know me. I'm a little busy, but I'll definitely reply. I will. And my contacts are almost everywhere on every social media platform. You can reach me. I'm telling the truth, you can reach me. You wouldn't believe how easily you can reach me. And I'm reachable. I'm the kind of person that you can talk to. I would reply. I'm not sure I can wait for up to 24 hours to reply messages. All of that said, I wish that you find the strength to push through with life. I wish that you find the strength to overcome temptations, and that you become a better person, and that you understand that sometimes things might tempt you, but they might not be what they promise to be. And sometimes that life might push you to extremes, but if you fight hard enough, you make it. You make it. I promise you make it. Until next time, bye-bye.